Okay, now for week 6, I want you to look at regional integration, and I've asked you the question, what do we see the prospects for regional integration in the Americas or Asia? And what should U.S. policy be? As you look at this, you've got a lot of theories. Gilpin is going to lay out a lot of theories for you. He's going to tell you about functionalism and neo-functionalism, these various ideas. And these are very important, and I want you to pay attention to those. They often come in handy later on in the comp and other places. However, when we consider regional integration, I do want to throw in a couple other things. One is, what are we talking about? All right? And basically, you can have levels of integration. You can have kind of as we have in the North American Free Trade Agreement, we have a free trade agreement. And that just means, hey, the countries in this are not going to charge tariffs on each other. We're going to let things go back and forth, and that's going to be great. The other thing is the next step up is you can say, okay, we're going to go beyond just having a free trade agreement. We're going to have a customs union. And in a customs union, you've got basically everyone is going to have the same tariff structure with outside nations. So not only are we not going to tariff amongst ourselves, we're going to have a customs union where we're going to have, for the countries involved, we're going to negotiate tariffs with other people as a block. And so we're just going to have one tariff schedule and everything goes in around. Mercosur, I believe, is a customs union, right? And so they're at that level. The EU at one point went through this stage of being a customs union as well. Then you move into a economic union, right? And now you're a customs union and you're a free trade and you've got everything that's gone before, and now you're going to also have an elimination. You're going to have not elimination. You're going to have a unification of all your commercial laws. So all your banking codes and all your consumer regulations and your business rules are all going to be standardized. And that's going to allow people to do business and trade. And it's not even going to be trade. It's just really going to be one market, right? And people are going to be able to move things around and do business more easily because all the regulations are now the same. Right, and so you're really breaking down all your internal barriers, right, and doing business on a level playing field. This, by the way, when this happened in Europe, a lot of non-tariff barriers to trade came out of the woodwork. The German purity laws for beer, they just didn't hold. They're like, no, can't have those. You can't have your own purity laws for beer. You go with the European laws. So now French beer with preservatives in it can be imported into Germany. Pasta in Italy, they required pasta to be made with grains that were only grown in Italy. So, all this stuff came out of the wash and they did away with it. And so that's where a lot of your game comes in. The next level is monetary union, where everyone says, well, let's all just have the same currency. And that's, of course, where Europe is now with the euro. Key thing about monetary union, when you do that, when you cross that last hurdle, states are now really giving up an important macroeconomic instrument, the ability to play with their currency, to make more of it, to change the exchange rate with other currencies, to balance, and you really have to. In order for this to work, in order for giving this up to work, you have to be in sync. Your economy has to be in sync with the other ones, so that, because essentially you're giving up an independent monetary policy for a unified one. And that unified one, the interest rates will be set by a central bank, and so, when times are bad, they'll lower the interest rates. When things are heating up and maybe inflation's coming in, they're going to raise the interest rates to cool things down. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands, but work with me, okay? The point here is that you're going to give up your individual monetary policy for this greater one. It's going to have to be one size fits all. Therefore, all are going to have to fit that one size. In order to know that this is going to work, right? In order for this to work, the economy has to be in sync so that when one country is in a boom, the other country is in a boom. And when the other country is maybe headed towards recession, the other ones are too. I mean, the idea is their business cycles have to be, in sync with each other. Okay, from your point of view, this way. The point is that takes time, and that takes a lot of integration to actually be going on. And all areas are not, even the United States, all parts of our country are not the same. I live in North Carolina, where, quite frankly, our housing market is just fine. We have a lot of people moving in, and the only thing that's been slowing down our housing market is people coming from other places being unable to unload their houses. So we're in a situation of we're doing well when other parts of the country are maybe not doing as well. In the United States, we get by with this because we have fiscal policy, where you have bad where you have bad economic conditions locally. A lot of federal money comes in for welfare, for unemployment, for various other things, and so you get some states become net gainers from their taxes. They get more in government money than they pay, and so there's a income transfer that goes on through the fiscal policy of the government, and that balances out the one-size-fits-all monetary policy of the Fed. Although the Fed does take into account regional variations when they're setting things, at the end they got to set, the dollar is the dollar, and the U.S. interest rate is the U.S. interest rate, and so the Fed does its best, but at the end it's going to pick one thing, and so fiscal policy comes in as a way to balance that. That works great for the United States, but for other types of union, how much money is going on. Now, in Europe, there is a little bit of income transfer going on, but it's much less in the United States. So they had to be very careful with their economic union to make sure that people were in sync before they signed up for the euro. So as you look forward, if you start trying to say, okay, what could the Americas or the Asias have, you have to ask, well, especially if you want to talk about going to the ultimate, to the monetary union, you have to say, well, is that really going to work? Are people going to be bound? Are we going to have without a fiscal thing? And, one assumes that it's going to be hard to get a supranational taxing authority, right? I mean, can we really see taxes and money being distributed around as it is in Europe? That's pretty much going to have to be a part of any monetary union for the reason I was just discussing. Hope that makes sense. I hope I explained that well, and I hope this kind of, sheds some light. I'm going to do a second video segment where I'm going to talk about NAFTA for a little bit. Okay? Otherwise, though, like I say, have fun with this assignment. Think about it. Try to stay with the theory as much as you can and use the theory, but also consider the ground realities as well as best you can. Okay? Great.